And we're now going to continue with the curriculum. It is my honor to introduce this is the Mo Hussain, who's the VP of Strategic Affairs from Sabinsa, and he's going to talk about liver health and healthy aging, the science support the science behind supporting the body's most resilient organ. We want to thank Sabinsa for sponsoring this session. Mo himself is a seasoned executive with over 2 decades of experience in operations, product development, strategic planning, well across the CPG industry. Welcome, Mo.
It's a pleasure to be here, and thank you. Today, I'm also joined by Dr. Sriram, who will be assisting me in this presentation. And I'm here to discuss a topic that's becoming increasingly critical in our aging population, liver health. So today's presentation is titled Liver Health and Healthy Aging, the Science Behind Supporting the Body's Most Resilient Organ. Over the next 25 minutes, we'll explore how this remarkable organ functions, why it becomes vulnerable as we get older, and most importantly, what science-backed interventions can help maintain optimal liver health throughout our lifespan. Then we'll have a few minutes at the end to answer any questions that you have. Both Dr. Sriram and I will be available. Moving on to slide number 2. So first, we're going to establish a foundation by understanding the liver's critical functions and how aging affects this organ. Then we'll examine the progression of liver dysfunction from health to disease state. We'll dive into MASLD and NASH, which represent a modern health crisis affecting nearly 1/3 of adults globally. This will then lead us into science-backed natural solutions, where I'll introduce you to Live Longer, a clinically validated formulation from Sabinsa. Finally, we will review the compelling clinical evidence supporting this approach, and we'll leave plenty of time for questions at the end. So we'll cover the aging liver, what makes it remarkable, what threatens it with age, and why it matters for active aging. We'll move on to the crisis, the risk factors, the MSLD and MASH progression, and the detox dilemma. And then we'll move to the solution, evidence-based approach, Live Longer formulation, clinical proof, and its safety. So the aging liver, its increased vulnerability. Despite its remarkable and incredible resilience, the liver becomes increasingly vulnerable with age. Natural age-related changes occur that we cannot entirely prevent. The regenerative capacity of the liver decreases. The amazing ability to regrow diminishes over time or age. The blood flow to the liver reduces, meaning less oxygen getting to the liver and nutrients reaching liver cells. There's an increased oxidative stress as antioxidant defenses weaken, are lowered, and detoxification becomes less efficient. But here's a critical point. Modern-day lifestyle factors compound, add to these natural aging effects dramatically. The sedentary lifestyle and obesity create metabolic stress, poor diets, high in processed foods, and lots of sugar, overwhelm the liver's processing capacity. Many older adults are on multiple medication, and what we call it polypharmacy, and each drug must be processed by the liver. So that's adding to the vulnerability, and then adding on to that is the environmental toxins that we are exposed to daily. And you can see why the aging liver is under siege. This combination of natural aging plus modern lifestyle creates a perfect storm for liver dysfunction. The question then becomes, what can we do about it? And that's why we're here to discuss it today. On my next slide, quite simply, active aging is not about avoiding disease. It's about maintaining the metabolic resilience that keeps you energetic, clear-minded, and physically capable. Your liver is the metabolic compound center that makes this possible. So let's get into the basics of the liver. It is it's the largest internal organ, and it performs over 500 distinct functions. What makes it unique among all organs is its ability to completely regenerate. You can lose 75% of the liver, but it will grow back its original size within weeks. This regenerative capacity is extraordinary, and it's truly remarkable that it can regenerate. But what we need to understand is it declines significantly with age. After the age of 50, your liver's ability to bounce back decreases by 30 to 40%. This is why supporting liver health isn't just about disease prevention, it's about maintaining the metabolic foundation that allows you to stay active, to be energetic, and be independent as you age. So, just want to hit up on one important part, which is the production of bile in liver. And what is liver's role in it? So liver produces bile, is a key organ for managing cholesterol levels. Bile is stored in the gallbladder and released into the small intestine to help digest fats and lipids. Bile salts and bile act as surfactants that emulsify large fat globules into small droplets, significantly increasing the surface area for the digestive enzymes like lipase to act upon. This emulsification process actually makes it easier for lipase enzymes to break down fats into fatty acids and glycerol, which then the body can then absorb. Well, bile also serves as a route for the liver to excrete cholesterol from the body. So multifunctional things going on with this beautiful organ. But I want to touch up with some of the other things, which is highlighting that some of the critical function. First of all, it regulates blood sugar by converting glucose to glycogen for storage and releasing it when needed. We talked about its production of bile. It's also your main detoxification center, processing drugs, alcohol, environmental toxins, and even converting ammonia to urea. It plays a crucial role in immune regulation by producing acute phase proteins, complement components, and cytokines that help clear viruses and pathogens. It synthesizes the vital proteins like the clotting factors such as fibrinogen and prothrombin, without which you would have serious bleeding disorders. It also produces albumin, a carrier protein that transports hormones, fatty acids, and drugs throughout your bloodstreams. Liver also stores essential micronutrients such as copper, zinc, magnesium, iron, and vitamins A, D, E, K, and B12. It is also responsible for your cholesterol production, which is actually vital. Cholesterol, of course, is a precursor for hormone synthesis and vitamin D production. Finally, it handles metabolism, breaking down the fats, converting the thyroid hormone T4 to T3 in its active form. That's why people with liver disease often experience metabolic issues. This is why we call liver, it is the body's metabolic command center. Move on to the next slide, talk about liver and active aging and what's happening there. Well, it's energy production, it's sustained physical activity, detoxification, protein synthesis, muscle maintenance and recovery, blood sugar regulation, the stable energy throughout the day. And then, of course, we spoke about the bile production. I want to touch up on the next slide on our risk factors for liver dysfunction. So, who is at risk? Let's be clear. If you're listening to this presentation, chances are you or someone you know has at least one of these risk factors. Central obesity and being overweight are primary drivers when we carry excess weight, especially around your abdomen. We are storing visceral fats that's metabolically active and produces inflammatory compounds. Type 2 diabetes mellitus and insulin resistance go hand in hand with MSLD. In fact, MSLD is now considered the hepatic manifestation of metabolic syndrome. Dyslipidemia, elevated cholesterol and triglycerides, creates additional stress on the liver. For women, polycystic ovary syndrome is a significant risk factor because it's tied to the insulin resistance. High blood pressure and metabolic syndrome step in, which is a cluster of conditions including high blood pressure, high blood sugar, excess body fat around the waist, and abnormal cholesterol all contribute. Of course, age is a factor, with risk increasing significantly above the age of 50, though we're now seeing MSLD in younger adults and even children. And of course, smoking compounds all of these risks through oxidative stress and inflammation. So here's what I would like you to understand, that these risk factors do not exist in isolation. They cluster together, creating a multiplicative effect. One risk factor makes you vulnerable. Multiple risk factors make liver disease almost inevitable without intervention. So the question is no longer, am I at risk, but rather, what am I doing about it? On the next slide, I just want to state the point that these risk factors don't just threaten liver health. They rob you of energy, mental clarity, and physical stamina. The path from healthy liver to metabolic dysfunction is also the path from active to sedentary aging. A little bit about non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, NFLD, a condition in which fat builds up in the liver. So what is the pathology of NFLD? Well, start with hepatic lipid accumulation, imbalance between fatty acids uptake and a very low density lipoprotein export and de novo lipogenesis, and fatty acid oxidation. Step into inflammation, macrophage activation by pro-inflammatory cytokines such as TNF-alpha and interleukins, the activation of hepatic stellate cells, and then TGF-beta and SMAD signaling promoting collagen synthesis and ESM deposition, all leading to fibrosis, where lipid preoxidation, oxidative and reticulum stress development, and mitochondrial dysfunction has taken place. A condition which may progress to fatal liver cancer. The next slide kind of illustrates the non-alcoholic fatty liver disease and alcohol liver disease. And I put this up here as kind of just to show to you some of the similarities and some of the differences. And as you can see right up there in the risk factors, you have metabolic syndrome. On the alcohol liver disease side, you have alcohol consumption. On the risk factor, again, you have intestinal microbiota. At the same time, on alcohol liver disease, you have the microbiome issues going on. So some similarities, some differences, but definitely a disease that we need to further control before it reaches a different stage. So I will now talk about the MASLD, which is metabolic dysfunction associated steatotic liver disease. You may know this by its former name, which I mentioned before, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. The terminology changed recently just to better reflect that this is fundamentally a metabolic disorder. We talked about metabolism and command centers and whatnot, that this is a metabolic disorder. It is the buildup of extra fat in the liver cells that is not caused by alcohol. Now, the statistics are staggering. MASLD affects approximately now about 30% of adults globally. That's nearly 1 in 3 people. In the United States and Europe, we're seeing similar prevalence rates. Among Pacific populations, the numbers are even more concerning, where there are more than 50% of individuals with type 2 diabetes that have MASLD, and 90% of morbidly obese individuals are affected. What makes this particularly insidious is that it is a silent disease. Most people have minimal or no symptoms. In the early stages, you cannot feel fat accumulating in your liver. And by the time the symptoms like fatigue and weakness or abdominal discomfort appear, the disease has often progressed significantly. When we talk about MSLD affecting 30% of adults globally, we're not just talking about a liver condition. We're talking about 30% of adults experiencing metabolic decline that manifests as fatigue, brain fog, difficulty maintaining healthy weight, and reduced capacity for physical activity. This is the opposite of active aging. It's a metabolic aging in action. So on the next slide, the active aging connection, 40% increased risk of cardiovascular disease, 2 times risk of type 2 diabetes progression, leading to the cognitive decline and brain fog. Dive in a little bit into the progression of NFLD. Talked about it a little bit, but dive into it a little bit more here. It tells us where we can intervene, the progression itself. So the visual shows the disease progression, and I want you to notice something very important, that the green arrows versus the red arrows are showing. So in the early stages, the green arrows are showing the reversible stages. We see the progression from a healthy liver to a simple steatosis, which means fat accumulation. When fat exceeds 5 to 10% of the liver's total weight, we have a problem. But here's the good news. These stages are marked with green arrows because they are reversible, as I mentioned, through lifestyle modification, physical exercise, weight loss. However, if left unchecked, the disease enters that irreversible stage, marked by the red arrows. Simple steatosis progresses to NASH, non-alcoholic steatohepatitis, where we now have inflammation with fat accumulation, which then leads to fibrosis, which is a scarring of the liver tissue. Fibrosis can then progress to cirrhosis, where the liver becomes severely scarred and dysfunctional, and ultimately to hepatocellular carcinoma, the liver cancer. So once you're in the red zone, the only options may be liver transplantation or tragically death. This is why early intervention is so important. So we got to get on the green arrows and make that happen. So the takeaway from that on this is don't wait for the symptoms. If you have risk factors, and we'll discuss those next, should take actions while they're still reversible. So MASH, metabolic dysfunction associated steatohepatitis, is a dangerously progressive form of fatty liver in which patients have inflammation of the liver and liver damage attributed to excess fat steatosis. MASH has the updated term from NASH that I mentioned before, and about 1.5% to 6.5% of US adults have MASH. One estimate is that 9 to 15 million adults have MASH. MASH prevalence is projected to increase by 63% by 2030. And therefore, our topic today, where we can intervene. On my next slide, I will review managing of the MSLD. So we have a challenge, and what do we do? Despite MASLD affecting 30% of the global population, despite it being a leading cause for liver transplantation, there are currently no FDA-approved medications specifically for MSLD or NASH. What do physicians recommend? The current standard of care consists of lifestyle interventions, weight loss, diet changes, exercise. But don't get me wrong, these are most patients. These are absolutely essential and effective, particularly in the early green arrow reversible stages we discussed. But here's the reality. Achieving and maintaining significant weight loss is difficult, as most of us know. Most patients struggle with compliance, and even those who succeed often regain weight. There are some medications like such as pyridoxine and vitamin E, that have been used to off-label to reduce cellular injury and improve steatohepatitis, but they're not FDA approved for this indication. They come with their own side effects and limitations. Several pharmaceutical companies are developing drugs targeting different stages of the disease, but these are still in clinical trials and years from approval and will likely be very expensive. Therefore, and here, it creates a critical, what we call treatment gap. Patients need solutions now. Green arrow, red arrow. They need evidence-based interventions that can support liver health while they work on lifestyle modifications. They need options that are safe, effective, and supported by clinical research. This is where natural, clinically validated ingredients enter the picture, and this is exactly what Sabinsa has been working for nearly 4 decades. We face a detox dilemma. An occasional detox cannot clear the closet. The maintenance of our health is a daily priority, as it in turn maintains the health of our tissues. On our next slide is the liver detox market. Is the liver support? As you can see, it can begin even when we are younger, knowing our lives will be taxed and overburdened by life, let alone by diets we choose. Moving to active aging requires daily metabolic support, not periodic cleanses. Think of Live Longer as maintenance for your body's metabolic engine, keeping it running efficiently so you can stay active, focused, and independent. We'll dive a little bit into the power of synergy. That's my next slide here. Herbal active compounds are intensified. Synergy between actives is more powerful without the consumer needing to use carriers. However, what we'll center in on is whole is greater than the sum of parts. It also allows us to perform gold standard human clinical RCTs because actives and potencies are consistent. Okay, now we'll dive into the Sabinsa's approach to liver health. Our philosophy, because it's foundational to understanding why Live Longer is different from other liver support products on the market. Sabinsa was founded by late Dr. Mohammed Majid, who established a core principle that guides everything we do to this day and in the future. The use of standardized, naturally occurring active molecules at the ideal dosage, combined with a healthy diet and active lifestyle, will lead to a healthy lifespan. But, and this is crucial, clinical validation must be conducted. Dr. Majid's deep knowledge of nutraceutical and his application of Ayurvedic traditions led him to many groundbreaking findings, the liver being the largest organ and central to metabolic health has always been a priority research for our entire team of scientists. For 37 years, we have been conducting this research proudly, and we don't just do botanicals to market and make claims, we standardize them to specific bioactive compounds. We determine optimal dosages through research, and we validate everything through preclinical and clinical studies. And Dr. Majid's legacy, we continue marching towards the path of healthy lifespan improvement. And liver health is at the center of that mission. The results of the decades of this research is what I'm going to share with you. Live Longer, a formulation that represents the convergence of ancient wisdom and modern science. Live Longer has been shown to not only support healthy liver function and enzyme production, but also help in detoxifying the liver and managing fatty liver, all of which helps to maintain the normal metabolic functions of the liver. The truly sour therapeutic Kokum fruit at its standardized garcinol content supports digestive health, blood sugar balance, and inflammatory response. Curcuminoids support a long health span. Bioperin supports healthy digestion, absorption, and assimilation of active compounds, which leads me to talking about the ingredients in Live Longer. So we talked about the synergistic approach in Live Longer is that tri-ingredient formula, and want to once again emphasize the word synergistic because this isn't just three ingredients thrown together. This is a carefully researched combination where the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. And
Mo, this is Len. Just want to give you a 5 minute check on time.
okay, thank you. I have been given my 5 minute warning, so I am going to dive into my approaches on Livinol. This is slide number 25. So I'll turn into Livinol, which beautifully illustrates how Sabinsa bridges traditional Ayurvedic medicine with cutting-edge science. Livinol comes from Garcinia indica, commonly known as kokum, a fruit that has been used in Ayurvedic medicine for centuries as a remedy for stomach and liver ailments. Traditional practitioners recognize its liver protective properties long before we had the ability to understand why it worked and how it worked. Sabinsa took this traditional knowledge and applied modern scientific rigor to it. So I want to dive into why preclinical evidence and what's important. So we used the STAM model, which was developed in Japan and is specifically designed to mimic human NASH progression. These mice rapidly develop to full spectrum of liver disease we see in humans and starting with simple steatosis, progression to NASH with inflammation, then to fibrosis, and up ultimately to hepatocellular carcinoma if left untreated. What makes this model so valuable is that the pathological progression is remarkably similar to what happens in human. The time frames are compressed, which might take years in human. Now it takes weeks in these mice, but the actual disease mechanisms are the same. This makes it an ideal system for potential therapeutic intervention. So what we found out was that the hepatocyte ballooning, which is swelling and damage to the liver cells, was inhibited by 50% with either Livinol or curcumin C3 complex. But Live Longer showed 75% inhibition. So with that finding, we said that we should be able to step this into clinical trials, in which we did. I'll put up a couple slides and go through them really quick before I run out of time here. NFLD activity score. We showed Live Longer showed significant decrease in fatty liver, and I'm slide 27 now. Livinol and curcumin C3 complex individual treatments showed lower score compared to untreated control. Fatty liver, Live Longer showed significant decrease in steatosis and hepatocyte ballooning. Liver fibrosis showed again reduced collagen deposition along with reduction in area of fibrosis. And then it leads to the clinical design aspect of it. I'm just going to go through that real quick. 72 patients with mild to moderate NASH, ages 30 to 65, BMI 25 to 35 kilogram, dosage 2 tablets daily. And results. Supplementation is safe and effective in improving liver enzymes, liver steatosis, and fibrosis, inflammation, and lipid markers, and acts as an adjunct supplement in the managing of NFLD progressing to NASH. So Live Longer on slide 32 was effective in improving liver enzymes and reduction in liver fat and liver stiffness as it's indicated here. And I know I'm going through very fast on this, but you can see how it worked with AST, ALT, LSM, CAP, and FAST. So What were the outcomes? Were first, liver enzyme AST decreased by an average of 9.53 units per liter and live longer. Group compared to a decrease of only 3.16 in placebo group. So we do have enzymes reduction matters. ALT, AST are released when liver cells are damaged or destroyed. High levels mean active liver injury is occurring. And I'll just move down to what does it all mean in practical terms? It means that just after 90 days, patients taking Live Longer showed measurable improvements in liver enzyme levels, liver stiffness, liver fat content, and overall liver health score. As illustrated in the next slide, on the lipid levels, declining in the total cholesterol, triglycerides, low density lipoprotein cholesterol, and a very low density lipoprotein. So the metabolic benefits, again, particularly exciting is that it doesn't just improve liver markers, it provided comprehensive metabolic support addressing the underlying metabolic dysfunction that drives NASH. The liver is better processing and regulating fats, which directly addresses one of the core problems in the fatty liver disease. Now, I want to be clear on one thing, that Live Longer is not marketed as a weight loss supplement. Patients were not instructed to restrict calories, but what is being seen here is likely a consequence of improved metabolic function. When your liver is functioning better, when inflammation decreases, when insulin sensitivity improves, your body naturally begins to regulate weight more effectively. This is the difference between symptom management and actually addressing the disease process. Live Longer is doing the latter.
Great. We're up to time, Mo.
Okay, we're good. Should we open it up to some questions? But Dr. Sriram and I are available.
I want to go back to the concept of liver health. Very, very unappreciated, I would think, in this overall concept of healthy aging. Probably a little bit of slippage with detoxification. If you're non-symptomatic, how can you be aware? So it's an interesting avenue in the marketplace. And is Mo with us as well? I see you, Dr. Krishnan. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, hi.
Is the importance of liver health? What's the traction within the marketplace?
Uh, for importance of liver health, there are a lot of supplements that are used for liver health basically. But this product, Live Longer, exactly has a lot of benefits. It prevents the progression of liver disease to NASH, promotes healthy metabolic function, promotes healthy liver metabolism, and keeps the liver very, very healthy. So, yeah, so with regard, what are the symptoms for knowing whether if there is a transition of if there is a what do you call, like when I looked into a lot of literature per se, um, since liver fibrosis or NASH per se does not have many symptoms as such, but there will be some slight abdominal pain, anxiety, fatigue, sometimes brain fog. So these are when linked with certain other conditions like diabetes, hypertension, it these are the regular symptoms that we can normally see for a NASH symptom, basically.
So some things with the symptoms you just described, Dr. Krishnan, would be confused with many sorts of different things.
Yes, yes,
So
yes.
that's
It does link. It is kind of linked with many other conditions as well. So even fatigue, your mood swings. So everything. See, liver function, liver health is also interlinked to a lot of other conditions like diabetes, hypercholesterolemia. There are other like heart disease also. So like everything is since it is interlinked, that's why it is called a kind of a metabolic syndrome per se.
right.
So yeah.
So it seems like, yes, you can have the liver and detox sort of supplement formulas, but really, if you're looking at holistic healthy aging, and Maggie, maybe chime in, and you've done some work on, I know with Whole Foods on this. I mean, if you're looking at holistic, this is probably an area that may be unrecognized, and maybe it also plays into the concept of resilience, especially with the fact that the liver can regenerate if you catch things early enough.
Is that a cue for me?
It's a general cue. I'm just trying to stimulate. I'm just kind of curious about how this plays out in the marketplace.
Yeah, I mean, I know, like, from our perspective, we know that there's huge interest in the topic. I mean, that's something that when we do our stories on this, that's a huge interest generator, always high traffic. So, huge area of interest for sure.
Yeah. Dr. Christian, what has been, so this particular product, what has been the response in the market?
It's very, very encouraging. So like there are many players who want to test live longer for liver health per se. And we have got a lot of customers who inquire about this product, and we have been selling this product to quite a few customers. It has been encouraging.
And are there any channels specifically where the interest has been most acute? I mean, this would seem to be something the practitioner channel may resonate more so than some of the other channels. I'm just wondering whether you have any feedback on that specifically.
See, we have been marketing this world over
Yep.
to both as practitioners and also as a health supplement, this thing. So yeah,
Okay.
as a feedback in the sense, like since we have recently launched it, people have been using it and they are, what do you call, they are happy with it and they have seen clinical benefits to as well.
Okay. And the toxicology, I don't think Mo had had quite the time to get into some of the
Yes,
toxicology.
yes,
Obviously, if
yes,
you're
yes.
talking liver health, you got to be very careful and make sure that there's no interferences with other things going on in liver health. So presumably the tox profile is pretty good.
Yes, it is very safe. So live longer, it has been clinically tested. Safety and toxicology studies have also been done. It is safe up to 600 mg per day, so which is about say live longer per se. We recommend up to 450 milligrams per day.
Got it. Understand.
Yeah.
Great. Maggie, anything else, or should we walk into our wrap for the day?
Oh, I think we've covered some great topics and we're good to wrap.
All right. All right. So thanks, Dr. Krishnan, and thanks, Sabinsa,
Thank
for
you.
that session a little bit ago.